I recently finally watched Babygirl and it left me disappointed. I was really excited when the trailer first dropped and it felt like a lot of people were looking forward to this movie. I liked this comment someone left under the trailer. Somebody replied that those films never left, and yeah, technically there are still movies with physical intimacy in them, but I think there is a big difference between sensual, erotic, horny cinema and just plain sexual, porny cinema, let's call it that. Horny cinema isn't just about having on-screen intimacy. In fact, a movie can be deeply erotic without showing anything explicit at all. It's about the overall charge the movie gives you. It's about titillation. It's the chemistry between actors, the arousing soundtrack, the suggestive cinematography, and that slow climactic story development. There's this article titled "Everybody is Beautiful and No One is Horny" that really hits the nail on the head. It talks about modern action and superhero films, but honestly, it applies to other genres too. You see it in so many mainstream movies. The actors look hot by social media standards, with perfect bodies and flawless makeup. But there's often no real chemistry, no genuine sexual desire or lust. It's like you're watching gorgeous mannequins recite their lines and not people who actually want each other. I was obsessed with Phantom Thread for a while because it was one of the most sensual movies I'd ever seen, and it has no traditional sexual scenes. It's all in the way the characters look at each other, interact with each other, the way their roles constantly shift. It's not about bodies, it's about the psychological tug of war that feels more intimate than any sexual scene. That's what I was hoping for with Babygirl, especially with Halina Reijn directing. She cited Secretary, The Piano Teacher, and Elle as influences, which are all incredibly bold and complicated movies about female desire, but Babygirl doesn't have the boldness and nuance found in those films. It's interesting how intimacy on screen still feels like such a touchy topic in the US, even though so many iconic, sexually charged movies come from there. But the conversation around it always feels weirdly intense. Either you are a prude or you're a pervert, no in between.
Are we entering an age of prudery? I'm interested in the way that wellness is taking over our lives, and yet sex seems to be taking a back seat.
In Europe, nudity and sexuality in film are treated more casually. It's just part of life, part of a character's world. I don't think every intimate scene needs to move the plot forward or have some deep psychological revelation, but I do think it has to do something. It has to evoke something in the viewer: discomfort, arousal, longing, tension. So in this video, I want to rant about why Babygirl didn't do any of that for me, and also talk about a couple of my favorite horny movies and try to understand what makes them work, at least for me. On paper, Babygirl sounds great. Romy is a powerful CEO, she has the career, the marriage, the kids, but she has a secret. She's never reached climax with her husband because of certain desires she can't express. Then Samuel shows up, a much younger intern, quiet but confident. Romy is drawn to him. This is a setup that promises tension, longing, danger, all the right ingredients. But the movie just doesn't deliver. Let's start with chemistry. Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson are both great actors, but together, it doesn't click. There's barely any tension or build-up. The film tries to justify their connection early on with just one scene. Romy watches Samuel calm a stranger's dog on the street and seems very impressed.
Good girl.
It's a nice moment, but I don't think it works as the trigger for such intense attraction. When she sees him again as an intern in her office, he asks a totally normal question, and she reacts like he just whispered something obscene.
Do you really think automation can provide a path to sustainability, or is that just something people say to make you like robots?
The connection between them feels forced, like the film is saying, these two are into each other, just go with it, without showing you why. Then come the provocative scenes. For example, Romy finds Samuel's tie on the floor after a work party, takes it into her office, puts it in her mouth, and pleasures herself. Or the restaurant scene where Samuel secretly orders her a glass of milk. She drinks it, and he whispers "good girl" as he walks past.
Good girl.
These moments are meant to be hot. They're stylized, risky, but they fall kind of flat. They don't feel earned. It's like a collection of sexy ideas placed next to each other without anything holding them together. Apparently, the milk thing really happened to Halina Reijn, minus the good girl line. And she thought it was hot. And yeah, I think it can be. But in this movie, it's very awkward. I think the biggest issue is how the film jumps around in time and setting, which breaks the tension and momentum. There's no real escalation. There are moments I do like though. The soundtrack is amazing. The first interview between Romy and Samuel, where they kiss, is nice as well. It has some tension, some push and pull. In the motel scene where Romy climaxes for the first time while lying on her stomach, it's awkward, intimate, raw. But after that, it all goes downhill because instead of deepening the relationship or building on the tension, the film drops a montage. Helena said she wanted to include a montage because she loves how American films use them. But here it feels tacky. It shows Romy in submissive positions, which makes sense for her character. We see that with her husband, she's always on top, in control, and what she really wants is to surrender. But the montage flattens everything into a glossy, surface-level recap. And what's worse, there's a second montage. It's slower in pace, but it's still a montage. The funniest part of it for me is when Samuel puts his fingers in Romy's mouth. It goes on forever, and he's so serious about it. It looks like he's trying to fish something out. And when he pulls his fingers out, finally, they are dry as hell. And that's one of the core issues I have with Babygirl. It promises to get messy and then never does. In interviews, Helena Raines said she wanted to explore the contrast between the polished, automated world Romy lives in versus the darker, more primal side she's trying to suppress. On paper, again, great idea. Romy is the CEO of a robotics automation company. Her job is literally about control and perfection. Her life is curated. Botox, therapy, motherhood, career. Her whole identity is like a well-run system, a mask. But the thing is, that mask never really comes off because the movie itself also stays too pristine. Take the motel room where she has her first climax. The room looks pretty nice. It doesn't have the real motel vibes because they're not in a motel, it's just a room. Or take the floor where Romy finds Samuel's tie. It might look messy at first, but it's just confetti and some balloons, no dust, dirt, or hair. The most transgressive moment is her drinking milk from a saucer on the floor and Samuel licking it off her face. But even that feels more like a Pinterest Tumblr mood board of kink than something emotionally raw. It's too aesthetic, too neat. Even the rave scene, which should be a major moment of release for Romy, is shot from a distance, mostly from above. You're watching her have a moment instead of feeling it with her, and it's over in seconds. Now, I actually like that the characters are confused. They don't always understand what they want or how to ask for it. That part feels true. But Romy's desires also feel all over the place. At the start, she's watching a daddy, baby video which sets up this idea that she wants to be taken care of, told what to do, a classic submissive thing. But then with Samuel, it shifts into some sort of pet play and humiliation, crawling on all fours, drinking milk from the floor. I understand that these fantasies can coexist, but I also feel like they contradict each other a bit. And then towards the end, Romy tells her husband that for her, it's about danger. She needs to feel like something's at stake. And here's the problem. The film never really creates that danger. She cheats, and yet her family, her job, her reputation all remain weirdly intact. Her husband is understanding, her child is sweet, her assistant is not surprised. Even in that final scene when Romy is intimate with her husband, there's no danger, no real risk, no role play, none of the things she claimed she needed. They just repeat the very first thing she did with Samuel. She's on her stomach, he covers her eyes, and finger her from behind. And then there are these random flashes of Samuel and the dog he tamed, like she's still fantasizing about him. So what is it? It seems like nothing has actually changed. Which brings me to the last weird thing about this movie, Romy's husband, Jacob, played by Antonio Banderas. It was very important, as Helena Raines said in many interviews, that Romy's husband, Jacob, be portrayed as basically perfect, attractive, loving, a great father, emotionally present. That way the audience wouldn't feel like her cheating is justified by him being a bad partner. The conflict is supposed to come from within Romy. Helena even said Antonio Banderas was the ideal choice because he could totally play the daddy figure Romy craves. And sure, Antonio Banderas can absolutely be daddy, but Jacob, in Babygirl, not so much. To me, it's obvious why Romy is dissatisfied. Jacob doesn't carry any of the danger or magnetism that Samuel does. He's gentle, artsy, emotionally attuned. He wants to make eye contact. He wants to make love. He's a theater director, for God's sake. Helena said that if Romy had just opened up to her husband, there wouldn't be a movie. But she does open up. She literally tells him she wants to watch porn during sex. She hides her face under a pillow and asks him to touch her, and he shuts it down. It clearly makes him uncomfortable, and that's valid, it's just not his thing.
He's making me feel like a villain.
This emotional disconnect isn't just one moment, it's throughout the whole movie. Romy eventually tells Jacob that she's never climaxed in their 19 years together. He doesn't even believe her.
Did you mean what you said about never?
And later, in his confrontation with Samuel, he makes a pretty telling comment that shows just how different his understanding of homosexuality is.
Female masochism is nothing but a male fantasies. It's a male construct.
So when we get to the final moment, Jacob trying to play along with one of Romy's fantasies, I just couldn't buy it. Can he really be her daddy now? I kind of doubt it. One last very nitpicky thing before I move on. Why is the movie called Babygirl? No one ever says it in the film. Not that they have to, but my slightly unhinged brain just loves when you hear the movie title. It gives me psychological closure. Good Girl would have made way more sense. It fits the themes, the dynamic, it sounds better. Anyway, that's Babygirl. It has ambition, it has moments, but for me, it doesn't go far enough. It's too safe, too glossy, and ultimately too afraid to get dirty. Now I want to talk, as briefly and spoiler-free as possible, about a couple of my favorite movies that know how to be sensual, erotic, and titillating. They deal with the similar themes that Babygirl tried to do, but I think they do it better. Lies and Videotape is one of those movies where barely anything explicit happens on screen, but somehow it still ends up feeling way more provocative and intimate. It's a masterclass in emotional eroticism, how much tension you can build just through talking, looking, and not touching. The story mainly centers around Anne, a married housewife who is somewhat sexually repressed. She's never climaxed in her life, just like Romy, and thinks that intimacy is overrated and pleasuring yourself is a pretty stupid thing to do.
And I think that stuff about women want it just as bad as men is crap. I mean, I think that women want it, I just don't think that they want it for the same reason that men think they do.
Anne is a good girl, just like Romy, straight-A student who doesn't even swear. She cooks, cleans, takes care of the house, and even goes to therapy. Her long skirts and tightly pulled back hair reflect the emotional distance she maintains from herself and others.
I see somebody who is extremely aware of people looking at you.
But unlike Babygirl, where Romy's curated image stays intact till the very end, here you can actually see what it looks like when that performance of control quietly starts to fall apart. As the film progresses, Anne's hair gets looser and her clothes simpler, not as a makeover moment, but as a visual cue that something inside her is shifting. What's so satisfying about Anne's arc is that her change isn't drastic. She doesn't reinvent herself or become someone new by the end, she just becomes more honest. It's in the way she starts speaking with more certainty, the way she stops apologizing. Her transformation feels earned because it's psychological. Romy, on the other hand, seems to go through the motions of transformation, but you don't feel the internal shift. By the end, she's back in her curated world, doing the same things, and we don't really know how she truly feels. Anne's world gets turned upside down when her husband's old friend, Graham, arrives in town. Graham is like a better-written Samuel from Babygirl. Samuel exists just as a blank canvas for Romy to project onto. Graham has actual layers and depth. He's his own person with a story. He's mysterious, but not in a hot guy with a secret kind of way, but gentle, awkward, and deeply wounded. He's got this quiet boldness that Samuel has as well, but his awkwardness feels more genuine.
Have you ever been on television?
Television? No. Why?
I was just curious.
He's hot because he listens, because he invites people to confess, because he never judges.
Can I tell you something personal?
Yeah.
Well, you gotta go first.
Samuel, by comparison, is sweet and interesting, but his awkwardness feels written, like the script is trying to make him endearing without really giving him a past, or even clear desires of his own. Graham's silences carry weight. His secrets shape the entire dynamic with Anne. There's emotional risk in every interaction. Samuel, on the other hand, feels like he has nothing to lose, so the tension never really builds. The chemistry between Graham and Anne is slow and thick with tension that makes you wait. If I had to describe this movie with one word, it would be edging, in the best way. Lies and Videotape understands that intimacy is psychological first. Each character has their own weird relationship with desire, and the movie makes those inner conflicts feel specific and real, something Babygirl struggles with. It's probably one of the softest and quietest horny films ever made. All about secrets, the tension between what we say and what we want. It's about shame, vulnerability, and the way conversations can be more erotic than most physical scenes in other films. In the Cut is one of those movies I kept putting off because I assumed it would be kind of cheesy. And honestly, I blame Mark Ruffalo's mustache for that. But I was wrong. This film is a hidden gem. Some people now call it a misunderstood masterpiece. I wouldn't go that far. The ending is weird and rushed and apparently very different from the book. The story of which follows Franny, an English teacher who is writing her own book on slang. In the Cut, by the way, means something like, quote, from vagina a place to hide, to hedge your bet, but someplace safe, someplace free from harm, end quote.
Slang is either sexual or violent. Or both.
That should give you a sense of the tone, poetic and dark.
I want to do with you what spring does with the cherry trees.
One night, Franny witnesses something in the bar. A woman kneeling between a man's legs. His face in the shadows, a tattoo on his wrist. That scene is grainy, soft, voyeuristic. It's one of the most beautifully shot blobs I've ever seen on screen. I swear. You see the male organ, but it's subtle and not in your face, and isn't treated like some gimmick or shock factor. It's tender and unsettling. That balance of fear and curiosity, arousal and dread is the movie's whole deal. Soon after, a detective named Malloy shows up at Franny's apartment. A part of the woman's body, the one she saw at the bar, has been found near her apartment. That's how Franny gets pulled into a magnetic relationship with a detective that unfolds in the middle of a murder mystery. In the cut, understands something that Babygirl never quite nails. That female desire is messy. It's not about wanting a bad boy or a good man. It's about the fact that sometimes you want both at once. In Babygirl, Romy talks about wanting to feel danger, wanting something risky, but nothing truly threatens her. In the cut, puts its main female lead in real danger. She's surrounded by murder, obsession, sexual aggression, and that threat bleeds into how she relates to men, to herself, and to it makes her choices feel risky and messy in a way that Babygirl only pretends to portray.
I'm scared of what I want.
Why, is it a lot?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Franny's desire is contradictory and raw. On one hand, she longs for poetic romance. On the other, she's drawn to danger, to power, to the thrill of surrender. She doesn't try to be likable. She's messy, impulsive, unsure. And that's exactly what makes her feel real. Unlike Romy, whose messiness always feels a little performative, a little clean. It's like the movie wants her to be complicated, but it's scared to go there. What I like about In the Cut the most is that you can see the emotional evolution of Franny's character through the intimate scenes. She starts off passive, watching from the shadows. Then she follows Malloy, who leads and commands. But by the end, she's the one taking control, making herself climax on her own terms. This is the primal desire Babygirl wanted to show. Malloy is jagged in a way Samuel from Babygirl never is. Samuel is nice but safe. You never doubt him. Malloy is unpredictable. He could be a killer. Franny wants him, but she doesn't trust him. And that uncertainty is electric. Like Slice and videotape, In the Cut gets that language can be the most erotic thing. Not just the words, but how they land. Malloy has a way with words, let's just say that.
No such thing as a bad blowjob.
There's some women are terrible blowjobs. No rhythm at all, no sense of whatsoever.
These days, it feels to me that intimacy on screen can be too safe, too polished, too choreographed, and actors can look extremely hot but not horny. What's missing is that raw psychological eroticism that gives horny cinema its edge. Mainstream cinema seems dry, indie and international movies still bring the heat from time to time, so of course I can't say that horny cinema is dead, but I definitely need more of it, not less.